Yesterday, I did a live on the Facebook page and talked about a poll that I put up on my personal Facebook page and my Instagram page, jason.husk. What I've seen from the results it blows my mind. I'm very surprised at what I'm seeing on there. Again, I find it funny that there's a huge dynamic difference between Facebook and Instagram. I received dozens and dozens of messages regarding this poll, and there's been hundreds of votes. And so I'm very surprised about the results, and it really blows my mind when I sit there and look at it. Now, I'm very surprised at the way certain people I know voted, and I'm not surprised by others. But I will say that overall, I really thought it was going to go in a different direction. On both Facebook and Instagram, there's a very heavy female presence on both of the social platforms. So I really thought that there was going to be a huge vote in favor of the female in this video. To the contrary, it's overwhelmingly against the female's actions. Now, maybe when people voted, they might have picked wrong, whatever. Who knows? But I have to go with what results are there. 100% across the board on Instagram, you have everybody picked equality for all. And I'm pretty certain that everybody knew what that meant. When I said equality for all, it was the fact that the woman slapped the man. She slapped his face and he responded. Now, he didn't outright hit her right away. He ended up hitting another guy first. Whoever this guy was, he hit this other guy, ended up knocking this guy out. And then, of course, he does hit the woman. He actually punches the woman a couple different times. Again, me personally not agreeing with the actions. I do in most scenarios I agree with an equal response. I'm not necessarily going to agree with him slapping her, period. I think a slap would have been a more qualified response than him punching. But then again, put yourself in his situation. I was actually talking to Fred about this last night, and I can unequivocally say that I know how to handle myself in these scenarios. I've been in many scenarios of we'll call it combat, and I know how to respond accordingly. So if my adrenaline gets pumping, I don't lose my mind. It's just practice over time. I've just been in these scenarios dozens upon dozens upon dozens of times, and so I can safely say I know how I would have responded. Now, I don't think that this guy probably responded the proper way. I think that he could have restrained her. I think that he could have easily, at the most, maybe pushed her away. Sure, other guy wants to get involved, knock his dumb ass out. It was the risk he took. But I think easily he could have pushed the woman away, maybe not slapped her. Because like I said, you take a guy and a woman, she slaps him as hard as she can, and then he turns around and he slaps her as hard as she can. Well, from the context of those words, sure, it sounds equal, but the force of his slap is going to be 2 to 3 times hers. It's not equal. Even if he backs it off, again, larger hand, maybe more, maybe harder, whatever. You take all these factors in, it's not going to be equal. So I don't agree with necessarily him hitting her, slapping her, punching her. But I certainly don't think that it's okay that she should think that she should have this entitled mentality that it's okay for her to slap him. She should have just kept her fucking hands to herself. But on Instagram, overwhelmingly, the vast majority of people that voted on it were females. And they almost all said, no, 100%. 100% of the people on Instagram said equality for all. She was treated in the proper manner because of what she did. And if you watch the video, what you hear is a lot of people in the background they're saying she hit him first. She hit him first. His glasses got knocked off. He's in this altercation. So I was blown away by that. Now I go over to Facebook and I think it's like 20% think that his response was excessive. Again, in this scenario, I may lean on the side of his response being excessive. I don't agree with a female putting her hands on a man just because she thinks she's a female and she's protected in some way. That's a dumb fucking mentality to have. Don't go crying and complaining if you put yourself in that position and you put yourself at risk. Men don't get to do that. A man gets his ass whooped because he put himself in that position. Everybody just says, oh, he put himself in that position. Yeah, you're grown up. You're grown up. Don't put your fucking self in that position and then ask, to have everything you did just be washed away because you're a different gender. We all want equality, and that was the purpose of the poll. Again, I don't necessarily agree with him hitting her, but I think that we could have certainly had something different done. So on Facebook, about 20% said that it was excessive. And it was all males. Every single person who said it was excessive was all males. Very surprising to me. Very surprising to me. You go on the other side, and it was probably about 70% females said that his response was equal. Super surprising. So, anyway. Other thing I wanted to talk about today, and this will probably get a little heated, and I welcome the debate. I welcome the fucking argument. It's what we live in America for, and if you don't like it, you don't have to listen. That's fine. But the FDA has now approved the Pfizer vaccine. And that's great. I think that's a great thing. I think that if as long as the process wasn't interfered with, so to speak, as long as the organization was honest and fair about their evaluation and they did it in the same manner that they would have evaluated any other approval. Obviously, it was done a whole lot faster than any other FDA approval, but I think it's good because that in itself may make a lot of people feel better about actually getting the vaccine. The argument I have always had, and of course, the moment it comes out, I see these dumb fucking people making comments, things like, "Oh, well, hey, it's approved now, so what do you have to say? You got no reason not to go get it, especially if your argument was that it's not FDA approved." Well, honestly, I think that would have been a dumb argument to have in the first place. There's a lot of things that we put in our bodies that aren't FDA approved, like vitamins and pre-workouts and supplements and things like that. They're not FDA approved. So the argument for me wouldn't be based on whether or not the FDA approved this vaccine. I give a fuck if the FDA approved it. For me, I looked at it from the effectiveness. I look at it from the effectiveness of the vaccine. If you take the vaccine and you can still get the fucking virus and you can still transmit the virus and you can still get sick and die from the virus, it's not a fucking vaccine. It's a therapeutic treatment. If the only thing that it does is lower your own risk of getting severely ill and then lowers the percentage and possibility of you personally dying, it's not a vaccine. It's a therapeutic treatment. And the only reason they're calling it a vaccine is because it won't sell and they won't get people to take it if they call it something else, if they call it just by some random name. You got all these names, you got all these drugs that are out there that are for high blood pressure and cholesterol and all this. And they got these random fucking names that mean absolutely nothing. But because of the scenario, because of the environment, because of what we've got going on and it being a worldwide pandemic, you've got to call it something that is going to resonate with people's minds. So this is the first time in history where you've had pharma, big pharma, uniformly call their medication by a generic name. Even, I mean, they advertise everything under some branded name. They're all going simply with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine or the Pfizer vaccine or the Moderna vaccine. They're not calling it by any name whatsoever. They're just genericizing it. And I find it very fucking odd that that's not how people are judging this. Hey, it's America. You live in India, you live in Indonesia, you live in China. Here, and I hope and I wish the rest of the world was like this, that you have the choice to get this vaccine. Now in America, we have the choice. Some employers, some places are mandating it. How weird, though, that the White House isn't mandating it for their staff. You have counties and cities and businesses trying to mandate it for the citizens and the employees in those areas, but the White House isn't mandating it for anybody who works there. Strange, right? But I look at it from the effectiveness of it. I take pre-workout, and if I was taking a pre-workout that did not give me the energy and it made me feel jittery or it did anything to me that I did not like, I would stop taking that pre-workout and maybe go switch to something else. Here, it's a little bit different. You're actually putting a medicine in your body meant to treat your cells on a cellular level. mRNA is meant to treat you on a cellular level. And you can't just go switch back and forth between them. And Pfizer being FDA approved doesn't mean anything to me because it still doesn't stop you from getting sick. You can still contract the virus. So if the vaccine does all of these things, number one, it still means nothing to me and why I would get it. I'm not going to mandate it for my employees, and I won't do work with anybody who does mandate it for my company or my employees. But you've got all these people that want to push and push and push and push and push the vaccine. And it's so fucking sad that you've got friends that all they want to do is try to push their beliefs on you. They want to tell you, hey, you're wrong for not doing this. I say, hey, do what the fuck you want to do, but don't tell me what I got to do. If I want to get the vaccine, I'll get the vaccine and I'll keep it to myself. I may talk about it still, but I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody else they should go get it. It's my choice to go get the vaccine. It's your choice to get the vaccine. You want to get it? All power to you. It's your body. You do what you want. But why do I have friends and other people, and you see it around the world, they want to push their opinion and their decision off on you? Like somehow they're part of a group that has weight, and that by them being part of this group that it lends and gives them power. Somehow it makes them effective and meaningful because they're trying to force their will or their opinion on everybody else. And if the only thing it's doing is keeping you from potentially dying or getting severely ill, because it really doesn't actually stop you from dying if you get it. It just lowers the chances of it. And I get it. If the possibility is there and you can lower that risk and that risk and that threshold is good for you, hey, that makes sense for you and your family. But the threshold is much higher for me. For me, it's a much higher threshold for me to go and get something like that. I don't get the flu vaccine. I have an immune system. I take care of myself. And that's the worst part about all of this, is that not one time during any of this bullshit, and I'll be honest, it didn't come from Trump, didn't come from the Trump administration, and it's not coming from the Biden administration, and there's being nothing said about actually improving your overall health as a human being. All they're trying to do is cram more shit into your body that they can sell for you. Keeps you more fucking hooked on the system and dependent on everybody else rather than simply saying, hey, get healthy. I actually saw something. I saw something yesterday. I think Jonathan Goins had it on there. There was a county that on their website, on their Facebook page, that they put out there, and it said something about it would take you would have to either walk or jog 5 miles every day to be able to lose. You do that for like a month, you can lose like 5 pounds. You probably lose more than that. But if you exercised, and of course, it's not just as easy as going out and jogging 5 miles a day or running, or walking 5 miles a day. There's a lot more that goes into losing weight. Mostly has to do with diet. But this county actually put this information out on their Facebook page, and it said, if you go and walk or jog 5 miles a day, it would take you 30 days to lose 5 or 10 pounds. But that seems too hard. But what's easy to take care of your health is getting the COVID-19 vaccine. They're literally on there like helping people justify not getting fucking healthy in their lives, not building up their health standards, not building up their immune systems. What we should have, why don't we have the hundreds of billions of dollars being dumped into the pharmaceutical industry? Why don't we have that being dumped into healthy foods for people? Why are farmers being paid to burn their crops and destroy things like corn and soy? Why? When these things could be put in the market and actually increase people's longevity, it could actually help increase people's immune systems and get them healthy. Why are we not pushing those things? Why are we not pushing activities for our children instead of finding some mind-numbing bullshit for them to do, sitting behind a screen, watching, their schoolwork or sitting, and why are we not encouraging more health? And if you can't answer that question without getting to the trail of it earns more money, that's not the answer. It earns more money for the pharmaceutical industries, which is the largest advertiser in the world across all media platforms, on all TV, all social media, all radio, and print. Pharma is the largest advertiser across the board in the world. They don't get that way because they get you healthy. They get that way because they treat you. And they get you hooked on a medication that you need for the rest of your life. I actually posted something on my Facebook or Instagram page not too long ago. It was actually on both. And I put up there because now they're pushing a third booster shot. Keep in mind, there is hundreds of billions of dollars that these pharmaceutical companies are being paid for this vaccine right now, for these doses. And now they're pushing a potential third. They're pushing a potential third round of doses as a booster shot. And my question was, as a grown adult that doesn't have hepatitis, you don't have to go get 3 shots. You don't go get 3 shots when you're a baby. If you have hepatitis, you get 3 shots. But here's some key information about this. The vaccine for hepatitis was discovered in 1965. It was tested on humans started in 1971. It was put into use in the United States in production worldwide in 1981. You're 16 years after the discovery of the vaccine, then it's put into production and being administered globally. In 1990, they discontinued the use of the original vaccine, and they brought in a new one that was in the works and being tested. And guess what this vaccine does? 1990 from 1965. What is that? 25 years? Yeah. 25 years after the first vaccine was discovered, they started administering a vaccine in 1990. And once you get this vaccine, it is impossible to ever get hepatitis B. Impossible. The vaccine that they administer in the United States today, a recumbent virus vaccine, you are guaranteed to never be able to get hepatitis B. And you're talking about something that's very similar. You're talking about blood-to-blood transmission. Now, obviously, you can get COVID, not necessarily from blood to blood, but the droplets. I think in a scenario, obviously hepatitis, if you're sharing blood, it's usually through kissing or sex, or we have to be very careful when we go into houses where people might have committed suicide or been found because they might have had hepatitis. So we have to wear gloves and respirators and things like that. You got to be very careful what you touch. But I think you guys see where I'm going with this. If you're guaranteed, and you got to take these 3 shots, and it guarantees you will not ever get hepatitis. Even if you come in contact with somebody who has hepatitis, if you are vaccinated by it, you won't get it. And guess what? If you contract hepatitis B, you get this and it stops it. It cures it. So my problem that I have with the virus, that I have with this treatment, these doses, is that it doesn't stop any fucking thing. And if the only thing is it does for you is keep you from getting very, very ill or potentially dying, good for you. But if I choose to take care of myself and actually go exercise, sometimes I eat right. Not all the time, but I'm in pretty good fucking shape and I take care of myself. I work out hard, I exercise, I eat generally pretty well. I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I smoke a hookah every once in a while. And if that's what I choose to do to combat the virus, is building up my own immune system, well, I'm certainly setting myself up for more long-term success than you are. And I think that's what it boils down to. We live in a society now where everything is instant gratification. Everything needs to be had right here, right now. And if you don't have it right here, right now, that maybe you're not cool enough and you're not part of this cool clique or this cool gang, or, you're trying to constantly catch up and all this other shit. And it's so fucking easy to just do this rather than go actually work out. I would be willing to put side by side the amount of people not wanting to get the vaccine versus the people that are getting the vaccine. And I would probably go with there's probably a larger percentage. I'm not going to say, I think there's a larger number overall of people that have been vaccinated. I don't think that is even a question. I think there are more vaccinated people in the United States right now than there are unvaccinated people. But I would say that if you put a percentage of people together that are vaccinated versus unvaccinated, I would say that there's probably a larger percentage of people that are unvaccinated that would fall into a healthier category. Because I know everybody I know that looks like me, that works out the way I do and handles their life the way I do, hasn't been vaccinated. But I see a lot of fucking people on the other side of the spectrum, and I know a lot of people on the other side of the spectrum that got vaccinated, and they don't work out, they don't take care of themselves. You don't even see them going and walking around for a couple of miles. So they don't take care of themselves on their everyday average health. And I'm supposed to rely on them as some kind of guidepost in what I should do with my life? What I do is a lot fucking harder. Yeah, it would be easy to go get the vaccine, but it still doesn't solve anything. I would rather have long-term success with my health than anything else. I may not live as long. That could be genetics. That could be a skydiving accident. You get that either way. But I know that overall, I'm a happier, healthier person on a daily basis with less aches and pains. I'm able to do more. I'm more mobile, agile, better endurance than my counterpart. I would rather be me. I would rather be unvaccinated, working on my own health. And so I get so frustrated. And again, I don't bash these people. I don't go to them and say, hey, shut your fucking mouth or any of that stuff. I'm not going to do that. Again, we live in America. You live in a free country. Say what you want. Say what you want. And that kind of goes back to what occurred at the football game that I put a poll on. That woman made her choice. She was vocal. She said and did what she wanted to do. She took the chance and suffered the consequences for her decision. She's an adult. She's a grown woman. Made a decision. She got punched. Again, I'm not agreeing with it. And unfortunately, I think the shitty part, and I hope it doesn't happen, but the sad part is the man will probably be charged. Now, I think if it went in front of a judge, I think the judge would throw it all out. I think the judge would wipe it away. She honestly should, if he gets charged with anything, she should as well. I think she got punished enough. She got punished enough by getting punched in the face. He shouldn't be punished at all. It's just a weird, weird world. But people think that they can say and do whatever they want and not suffer the consequences. And that's the other part of a lot of stuff that goes on, is that you hear people say and do things, and they've never had to suffer the consequences for their own actions or the things that they say. And I can relate to that, because that's how I used to be. When I was younger, yeah, I never one time had to realize the consequences of my own actions or the things I said. As I got older, I very quickly I had to adjust to those. Just as an example, my son was born a month before I turned 21. My entire 20s and 30s were taken away. I think I've lived a fantastic life, and I wouldn't trade it for the world as far as my kids. But I had a kid when I was 21. I didn't get to go out and party and live that life and travel the world and all that stuff. I mean, I still have done it. Some of it I've done with my kids. Some of it I did as I got older. But I didn't get to go do that at 20 and 24 and 25 and just be carefree, because I made a decision. His mom and I made a decision that we weren't going to take steps not to have a child. We took that risk. We became parents. We accepted that, and we lived with it, and we raised a beautiful child. There's so many people out there, and I'm not going to go down the road of abortion because that opens up the conversation with people. Unfortunately, the hypocrites out there like that, they're not going to like the fact that, hey, you want to push abortion, but or say abortion is my body, my choice, except for when it comes to a vaccine, because apparently it's, our body, your choice. So anyway, fucking retards. So anyway, and I was actually asked because of the conversation I had yesterday. I was actually asked by somebody last night, by a female, about that kind of scenario. And the reality is, like I said, I've been in combat situations, physical hand-to-hand combat type scenarios. I did martial arts when I was living in Canada, training speed skating. In the off season, I actually did kickboxing. I became very, very good at kickboxing. It played very well into my body type and the physicality of speed skating, the brute force of it. I actually did that when I did kickboxing for a while up there. And then I was living in Florida, working in 2005, 2006, I was doing boxing down there. But then in 2008, a buddy of mine, Woody, and we actually opened in the early stages of when MMA was just becoming a thing. We actually opened a gym in South Houston, and I used to go down there and train 3 days a week. I mean, hell, the day that Woody and I were in there setting things up, he's much taller than I am. I'm 5'9". He's like 6'1", 6'2". Might be taller than that. He likes to talk shit, looking down at me. He likes to make sure he looks down at me when he talks his shit. But the day we were actually moving stuff in there and finishing up some painting, he wanted to spar. We went in there, and the motherfucker just did a roundhouse kick. And we had pads on. We went ahead and put guards on and everything. So we were trying not to hurt each other. We used to roll all the time and, test out different, grappling moves and everything. We did a lot of jujitsu, stuff like that. But anyway, he did a fucking roundhouse kick to my ribs and broke 3 of my ribs. Fucking dickhead. I think one day I'll have him on too. He's pretty fun. He's super freckled. He's got freckles all over him. And we used to have this giraffe in our house, not the one that my ex-wife hit me with, but a much larger one. It stands about, just a ceramic thing, stands about 6 feet tall. And I used to tell the kids, the kids used to call this giraffe Uncle Woody because it was kind of a tan color and then had these brown spots all over it. They were raised spots. But Woody, he's light skinned and he's got freckles everywhere. And the motherfucker, if he wears khaki shorts, you can't tell where his shorts end and his skin begins. Like, this is the way he looks, just with it. And I'm sorry, you guys will see him one day. It's fun. But anyway, the question was asked about my response in that kind of scenario. And because I'm not agreeing with the guy doing what he did, but I certainly understand in that moment, if you've not ever been in a situation like that, you're not going to know how to respond right away. Your adrenaline's pumping, your mind goes wild, and it's a fight or flight. You're going to fight. You're going to survive. That's a human instinct. And he's probably not been in a lot of different scenarios like that, where he needed to really control himself in a very stressful, high, in a violent situation. And he responded the way he knew how. So I was actually telling this woman that, have I had a lot of experience with that particular kind of scenario? No, only with my ex-wife. And I will say that there were 2 different scenarios where I think I told the story about where the cops actually showed up and they made her leave, is because she was being so physical and so violent, where I actually had to restrain her. I just grabbed her hands. I mean, she's swinging at me and literally punching me in the face. And instead of retaliating, punching her back or anything like that, I literally just grabbed her hands and I restrained her. And then when the cops got there, they made her leave the house. But there's actually a situation in 2008 where we went to the rodeo, took a bunch of people to the rodeo. And Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, huge thing. And every night there's hundreds of thousands of people there. And I don't remember who we saw that night. It might have been it could have been ZZ Top. It could have been, who knows. Anyway, we're leaving, and I got a limo that night for everybody. We all went together. It was somewhere between 12 and 14 people. We all went in this big ass Hummer limo. And so when you're leaving the rodeo, there's a place you go and you walk outside and all the limos come through. Well, there's so many that are there. Like I said, there's a couple 100,000 people that show up for the rodeo and the carnival that's there, that when everybody's leaving, as far as the limos go, they all go to the same spot. And there's probably 200 or 300 limos out there waiting to pick people up. Well, ours is probably halfway through the line, so it's going to take 45 minutes for them to get there. Like I said, it's 2008. We had all been partying and having a good time, and drinking and everything. And we're standing in line. They had porta potties out there, and we were standing in line at these porta potties waiting to go. And my ex-wife and I, we were standing in the far right lane waiting to go. We were in line to go into the porta potty on the far right, which was a large kind of handicap, meant for wheelchairs could go in there. But the area we were in there was literally no wheelchairs out there. And of course, if one came up, they'd go right the fuck on in there. That's what the bathroom's meant for, someone who needs that extra access. But there's like 9 or 10 porta potties in a row. We're on the far right, and right next to us is another line, and there's 2 women and 2 guys, and they're older. I say older. I'm almost 40. They were probably in their late 30s, early 40s at the time. And it's 2008, so I'm 26 at the time. It's 13 years ago. And they're standing in line here waiting to go into this porta potty. Well, someone walks out of the one we're waiting on, and the women over here, they go and run, and they run and go and jump in, and they cut us in line, and they go into the porta potty. My ex-wife, she's pissed off, and there's other women with us, and they're mad, and it's like, hey, just let it go. Well, as soon as the women come out, the men try to go over there and do the same fucking thing, because the people in this other stall, they still haven't come out. I don't know if they're in there fucking or what, but the men literally try to go over there and get in front of us. And I walk right up, and probably not the right thing at the time, but I literally pie face this guy. I literally put my hand on his face, and I push him back. And I go into the bathroom. I go. So I'm standing in there, and the guys are going ballistic outside. They're beating on the fucking doors. They're beating on everything. They're trying to rip the door open and everything. And I'm just in there peeing. And I know what's about to happen. The moment I open that door, I'm going to have to fight somebody. So what I ended up doing is I just peed, zipped up, and I kind of stepped back. And what I did was I right as I like unhooked the door swung this way. Right as I unhooked the door, I kind of stepped back, and I just did like a front kick. Did a front kick right into the door. Ended up hitting one guy square in the head. Knocks him back. It's a plastic door, not super heavy. It's not like it's going to do a lot of damage, but it gave me enough room to be able to get out the fucking door without being punched right in the face. So as soon as I kicked the door open, it was kind of like a Superman. I just jumped straight out, and there's another guy standing there about two or 3 feet back from the door, and I just hit him straight in the face. By that time, the other guy's getting back up, and now it's an all-out brawl. Next thing you know, there's probably 60 people that start fighting. It was like a riot that broke out. It's kind of entertaining when it all went down. But what ended up happening was these guys kept coming out. Of course, the women were pissed off because they're still coming after me. One of these guys' wives comes straight at me, just straight at me, and she tries to hit me. And she goes and throws a punch straight at me, and with her right hand. So she's coming across this way, just from this side to my right side. And I literally, as she goes to punch, I literally just go to the side, and I grab her wrist, and I just kind of fling her. I didn't punch her, didn't slap her, didn't do anything. I just kind of threw her to the side. By this time, my ex-wife, she grabs me, does a bear hug around me, and she like drags me to the ground, and everybody's trying to calm me down. And there's, like I said, there's like 60 people fighting at this point. Of course, the cops are there. They walk right over. The guy, one of the sheriffs, stands directly over top of me with his .45 drawn and puts it straight on my forehead. And before he did that, of course, I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to, pull my ex-wife's arms off me so I can get up and go fight. He's got this gun to my forehead, literally puts it directly on my forehead, and he says, "Are you going to calm down? Are you going to stop now?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I guess I'm done." And he says, "Get up." I stood up, and he looks right at me, and says, "I saw what happened. Go get in your fucking limo and leave. Go get in your vehicle, leave." They end up arresting the 2 other guys because of what they did, because they were over there beating on the fucking everything. And anyway, my point with all that was that even in that high stress of a scenario, I knew who I was fighting. I wasn't there to you weren't there to just beat up everybody who's around. It's not fucking Jackie Chan movie. You just kick the shit out of everybody that's there. There was a very specific enemy, and there was a very specific purpose that I was serving. And I saw the woman who did not pose any physical threat to me whatsoever. She didn't have a weapon on or anything like that. And so instead of hurting her, I just moved her out of the way. So I can say when I watch a video like that, and I watch any of these videos of any athlete of any kind assaulting their, a woman, that I think it's excessive. Me personally, I believe it's excessive. There is a way that a man can physically stop a woman. I talked about this yesterday. 99 out of 100 things, women and men are equal. Physicality is not one of them. Physical strength is not one of them. Yes, you have... Come on, I know I'll get comments about this, and people say this shit to me. Yes, there are many, many strong women. There are thousands of strong women. But overwhelmingly, men are physically superior to women. I will openly acknowledge that women, I believe, are mentally superior to men. We are a bunch of fucking retards. And I don't mean that... We are so dumb, and we do stupid shit, and we say stupid shit, especially me. I believe that women are mentally superior to and emotionally superior to men in so many ways. But I see that, and I say, you know what, that the man knew that, and I think he knew that, and anyway. So that's my rant for today, guys. Hope everybody has an amazing day. You guys like what I'm doing over here. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. Go check out the Facebook page, Jason Husk Managed Chaos on Facebook. Check out my Instagram page, jason.husk. But first and foremost, over here on YouTube, give me a like. Give me a subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to what I'm doing over here. I really do enjoy this. Like I said, right here, just kind of having fun. Got a new mic. The mic stands came in yesterday, so been playing with this one. Really, really happy with this one. This Gator Frameworks. Really happy with it. I think it's heads and tails above the other. Of course, the kind of mono stand that I had, and I had some other arms. I had different arm stands that I was using, and they had springs on the outside, and they only moved in a certain way, and they were loud. If I ever moved them, they were super loud. With this, I mean, I can move it up, I can move it down. It really doesn't affect anything. I can do all kinds of stuff with this, and it's just, I can move it in any direction I want. It doesn't break anything, doesn't make a lot of noise, and so I'm very happy with this setup. So this will actually be the stands I'll be using on the table when we get in the studio. Like I was telling everybody yesterday, there on that Facebook Live, there on the Jason Husk Managed Chaos show, the actual studio from where I'm sitting right now is about 20 feet in that direction. So pretty excited. Should have it ready. Actually going to be out of town again this weekend. Going on a little mini vacation with a bunch of friends, just kind of ending the summer, celebrating a few things. Actually, it's a buddy of ours' birthday, and so he wanted to go float the river, so that's what we're going to go do, is go float the river. So anyway, thank y'all. Thank everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you for everybody who reaches out on a daily basis. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have been awesome. Everybody's fantastic. I love you guys, and I just so deeply appreciate everything that everybody has said and done and, reached out to me. I really do. I appreciate it. So thank y'all. Love y'all, and I will talk to y'all very, very soon.